Capcom may have just pulled off one of the most impressive launches we've seen in years, because Capcom has officially confirmed that Pragmata sold over 1 million copies in just 2 days. And the reason this is such a big deal isn't just the number itself, it's what that number represents. This isn't a sequel riding the coattails of an established franchise. It's not a remake tapping into nostalgia, and it's not a live service game banking on long-term monetization. This is a brand new IP, something completely original, breaking through in a market that has become increasingly risk averse. To really understand how impressive this is, you have to go back to when Pragmata was first revealed. The debut trailer immediately grabbed attention with its surreal tone. A lone astronaut walking through what looked like a futuristic, almost abandoned version of Earth, paired with a young girl who clearly had some kind of deeper significance. It was visually striking, but also incredibly vague. People were intrigued, but they didn't really know what the game was. And in today's market, that can go either way. Mystery can build hype, or it can lead to skepticism. Then came the delays. Pragmata didn't just get pushed back once. It went through multiple delays, disappearing from the spotlight for long stretches. Every time that happens, there's always the same concern. Is this game in trouble? Is it going to come out at all? We've seen plenty of titles over the years fall into development limbo, only to either release in a broken state or quietly fade away. So as time went on, the conversation around Pragmata shifted from excitement to uncertainty. But what Capcom managed to do, very deliberately, was rebuild that excitement without overexposing the game. Instead of flooding the internet with constant updates, they chose their moments carefully. When Pragmata reappeared, it did so with purpose. New footage didn't just show more, it clarified the experience. We started to see the blend of action and puzzle solving, the dynamic between the astronaut and the girl, and hints of a narrative that was going to be more emotional and character driven than people initially expected. That slow drip of information turned skepticism back into curiosity. And curiosity is powerful. In a gaming landscape dominated by familiar formulas, something that feels different automatically stands out. Pragmata wasn't trying to be the next open-world checklist game or another competitive shooter. It carved out its own identity. The gameplay loop, based on cooperation between the two characters, introduced a layer of strategy that felt fresh. You weren't just reacting. You were thinking, adapting, and constantly managing two perspectives at once. That alone gave people a reason to pay attention. But none of that would have mattered if players didn't trust the developer. This is where Capcom's recent track record becomes a huge factor. Over the last several years, Capcom has consistently delivered high-quality releases across multiple franchises. They've rebuilt trust with their audience in a way that few publishers have managed to do so. So when people saw Pragmata finally ready to launch, there was a level of confidence there. Players weren't just buying a concept, they were buying into Capcom's reputation. Another key factor here is timing. Right now, there's a notable shift happening in the industry. Players are starting to feel fatigue from certain trends, especially when it comes to overly bloated open-world games and live service models that demand constant engagement. That doesn't mean those types of games are going away, but it does mean there's a growing appetite for something different. Pragmata arrived at exactly the right moment to capitalize on that. It offered a focused, narrative-driven experience with unique mechanics, and that made it feel refreshing. The 1 million copies sold in 2 days isn't just a reflection of marketing or hype. It's a reflection of demand for new ideas. It shows that players are willing to take a chance on something unfamiliar if it looks polished and thoughtfully designed. And that's an important signal to the rest of the industry. For years we've heard that new IPs are too risky, that it's safer to stick with established franchises. But moments like this challenge that idea. They prove that innovation still has a place, and more importantly, that it can succeed commercially. Now, of course, early sales are only part of the story. The real test for Pragmata is what happens next. Does the game maintain momentum? Does it generate strong word of mouth? Because that's what turns a successful launch into a lasting franchise. If players finish the game and come away impressed, if they start recommending it, discussing it, and breaking down its story and mechanics, that's when you know you've got something special. And if that happens, we could be looking at the birth of Capcom's next major franchise. Think about what that means for a second. A brand new IP, introduced in a generation where originality often takes a back seat, potentially growing into something that stands alongside Capcom's biggest names. That's not something we see every day. There's also the creative side to consider. Success brings expectations. Now that Pragmata has proven it can capture an audience, Capcom is going to face pressure to expand on it. Sequels, spin offs, maybe even adaptations into other media. It's all on the table. The challenge will be maintaining what made the original special while evolving the formula in meaningful ways. That's a delicate balance, and it's something even the best developers struggle with. At the same time, this success story adds another layer to a broader conversation happening in gaming right now. What do players actually want? For years, the answer seemed obvious: bigger worlds, longer play times, more content. But now there's a growing sense that quality, focus, and originality matter just as much, if not more. Pragmata's early success fits right into that shift. It suggests that players are ready for experiences that respect their time while still offering something memorable. And that brings us to the bigger picture. If Pragmata continues to perform well, it could influence how publishers approach new projects. It could encourage more investment in original ideas, more willingness to take creative risks, and honestly, that's something the industry could benefit from. Because while sequels and remakes have their place, it's new IPs that push the medium forward. So yeah, 1 million copies in 2 days is impressive on paper. But when you look at everything behind that number, the development journey, the market conditions, the design philosophy, it becomes clear that this is more than just a strong launch, it's a statement. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you picked up Pragmata yet? Are you enjoying it, or are you still on the fence? Do you think it has what it takes to become a long-term franchise, or is this just early hype that might fade over time? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. If you want to go even further and support the channel, check out my Patreon. The link is in the description. My latest exclusive over there is a deep dive into whether or not open world games still feel fresh, and trust me, it's a conversation you don't want to miss. Thanks for watching, and as always, game on.